From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mary Angish. It's Friday, October 10th, and here are today's headlines. The Vermont Medical Society says that one casualty of the federal government shutdown is the suspension of telehealth services for most Medicare recipients. Telehealth is a program first put into place during the COVID-19 pandemic, and there are concerns this issue could cause serious problems if the shutdown drags on. The program allows patients direct access to their healthcare providers from their homes via computer screen or phone. Jessa Barnard directs the Vermont Medical Society. She says telehealth has become a vital form of care for many older Vermonters.
Especially going into the winter months with it being bad weather and dark earlier, that's a flexibility that has been really important to be able to get care to Medicare beneficiaries in their homes.
Barnard says the shutdown will not affect telehealth services for Medicaid or for most private health insurance policies. Local union leaders are preparing for a first-of-its-kind conference at the end of the month. The People's Summit will bring together a diverse group of union members and labor organizers. High school teacher Caitlin McLeod-Bluver is a member of the Winooski Education Association. That's the local teachers union sponsoring the conference. On Vermont Edition this past Wednesday, she said conversations at the summit will focus on helping community members who might be negatively affected by Trump administration policies.
So we're thinking about how we can support our students, our farm workers, and how we can then use this energy and think about how to capitalize on that.
That conference is on October 25th at Winooski High School. And police in Brattleboro warning residents there about a potential hazard in town. Officials issued a public safety alert this week about small bags with the Elmo character printed on them. They say that these bags are commonly used to package heroin and fentanyl. Police say the stamped wax paper bags printed with cartoon characters have been found in public areas, and this raises concerns about children and others being accidentally exposed. No injury or overdose has been linked to these wax bags. Officials still warn the contents could pose a grave threat if ingested. They urge parents to talk to their kids about not picking up items from the ground, even if they have familiar characters on them or look like candy, and to report any suspicious items to police. And there's some local representation on the national singing contest, The Voice, this season. Liam Von Elb hails from Plattsburgh, New York, and NBC5 reports the audio engineer left the North Country for a career in Nashville. He toured with notable artists like Taylor Swift and Katy Perry. After making it through preliminary blind auditions on the 28th season of the NBC show, Von Elb chose Niall Horan as his coach, and Von Elb's next televised performance on The Voice will air Monday, October 13th. And this weekend, Vermont Public Classical is partnering with the Otter Creek Music Festival to honor a 12th century Christian mystic. The experience reimagines the music, poetry, and art of Hildegard von Bingen. She's one of the earliest known female composers in Western music and was a respected healer and herbalist, too. Vermont Public Classical's Helen Lyons says von Bingen's work resonates with many hundreds of years later.
She offers us a deeper connection to nature, a deeper awareness of the world around us, which I think now people are really craving. You know, people want to get away from the phones and the screens and the devices and just get back to the core of who we are as human beings.
Saturday's visual and music performance called Hildegard Reanimated is sold out, but you can learn more about her work on vermontpublic.org. Coming up, Vermont Public's Lola DeFore investigated how often public and private schools in the state enrolled students with special needs as part of their state's voucher program. She shares what she found. That's after this. Public education advocates in Vermont have long argued that the private schools who participate from the state's voucher program, also called town tuitioning, get to pick and choose which kids to take. And they say that leaves the public school system with higher concentrations of need and fewer resources. Independent schools, on the other hand, have bristled at that notion. They've said they evolved to fill a void where there are few public alternatives and that they don't discriminate. But that debate has always taken place absent any hard data. So Vermont Public reporter Lola DeFore requested enrollment figures from the state, and she shared what she found. Hi, Lola.
Hey, Mary.
First of all, what kind of data were you able to review? And most importantly, what did you find out?
Yeah, so I looked at information about publicly tuitioned students who had individualized education programs. That's a type of special education plan, and where they were ending up. And I found that public schools did take a disproportionate share of them. But there were some really large and very important exceptions to that kind of general pattern.
Oh, yeah. Share what those were.
The most notable ones had to do with the so-called historic academies. That's Linden Institute, Thetford Academy, Burton, and St. Johnsbury Academy. They've generally been viewed as the de facto public high schools in their regions, even though they're private. And the data I looked at suggests that 3 of them were indeed enrolling special education students at rates very similar to the public school system.
Okay, you said 3. What about the 4th one?
St. Johnsbury Academy was the big outlier here. Only about 9% of its publicly tuitioned students were on IEPs. That's about half the average rate seen in public schools, 17%. The rates at Burton, Linden, and Thetford were also much higher, and in some cases even slightly higher than the average for public schools.
Oh, what did St. Johnsbury say about that data?
Its leaders were emphatic that they do not cherry-pick publicly tuitioned students. They told me that unless a student is, with a voucher, is, say, chronically absent or dangerous, they'll take them. One administrator there suggested that maybe the lower rates of kids on IEPs was actually a good sign, that maybe they were putting the right sort of universal accommodations in place, like good literacy supports, which might eliminate the need for more intensive services in some kids. I pointed out to them that their own website asks applicants to submit their entire school record before being considered for admission, including things like intelligence scores, diagnostic evaluations, family background information, and the like. Sharon Howell, the head of the school there, suggested maybe the website contained incorrect guidance, and soon after we spoke, the paragraph I pointed to on the school's website was actually removed.
Oh, wow. Sounds like your reporting answered some questions, but did it leave you with any new questions?
You know, I think a lot is still unsettled. It's good to have this data, but I think we need more. I was only able to review enrollment data for 1 year. And even though it was the most recent available, it was also 2 years out of date by the time I was able to get it. I also initially really wanted to look at where low-income kids were ending up. But the data I got back from the state on that population of kids wound up being basically unusable. And, you know, people on all sides of the debate stressed the need for more data and expressed frustrations with the state's limited ability to provide it. And I agree with that. The Agency of Education has basically seen its staff decimated in the last 2 decades, and the consequence of that is that as Vermont is having these really important public policy debates, good information is really hard to get your hands on.
That's Vermont Public's Lola DeFore. Lola, thanks so much.
You bet. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Bob Kinzel, Michaela Lafrac, and Jen Jarecki. And Adia Golston produced today's episode with editing by Stephanie Colombini. And our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mary Engish. Thanks for listening.